Jameson. I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I would like to talk to you about Coheed and Cambria, my favorite band. I'm not Coheed and Cambria's longest running fan. The band's been around since 2002, and I didn't hear about them until 2007. And my first experience with Coheed was when the game Rock Band came out. I had never played Guitar Hero before, but I had a group of 3 friends, and we decided to play Rock Band when it came out. And I had never heard of Coheed and Cambria, but Welcome Home quickly became my favorite song in the game. I was the singer of our group, and I loved to sing it. I loved Claudio's range, and I just became drawn to this music because it was epic, and it was so much more than the music, and that was evident really early on in my fandom. And so I found out that it was Coheed and Cambria's song, and I started looking for Coheed and Cambria's music. And by this point, every album except for Year of the Black Rainbow was already out. So I was actually pretty lucky as a fan because I didn't have to wait for new music to come out like a lot of Coheed's earlier fans probably did. I immediately had this breadth of music that I could go search for and find, and I did, and immediately my favorite albums off the start kind of ran contrary to a lot of my friends who are also Coheed fans. I loved The Good Apollos, I loved No World for Tomorrow, and I loved From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness. And a lot of my friends liked their earlier stuff in Keeping Secrets and Second Stage Turbine Blade. But I was, huge into the later albums, and then after a while I kind of, listen, and then I discovered in Keeping Secrets, even though I had been listening to it for a while, it had never clicked with me, and so, in Keeping Secrets really became one of my favorite albums. And then going on in time, I started listening to Second Stage Turbine Blade a lot, and I discovered how amazing that album is, how it was their first, foray into this, musical world and such rich storytelling and amazing, rock and roll. And I developed a incredible appreciation for the album, which I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to when I first became a fan of the band. And I actually, my first experience with Coheed and Cambria was through Rock Band, when I actually knew who Coheed and Cambria was, because that was my introduction to the band. I had never been able to put a name to the music, but actually a few years prior, one of my friends gave me a compilation CD from an artist called the Legion of Doom, who takes 2 songs and blends them together. And one of the songs on this album was called Devil in a Blue Dress, and it was a mashup of 2 songs, but I had never known which songs they were. And all the title said on the CD was Census Fail versus Co. And so I never knew who that was, but I was listening to it, and that was my favorite song on that album when he gave it to me. But I started listening to Second Stage Turbine Blade, and I noticed that one of the songs sounded really familiar. And I was like listening to it, I was like, where have I heard this before? Because the music didn't quite make sense, but I knew I had heard those words before, and I knew parts of the music. I knew I had heard them before, even though I had no idea who Coheed and Cambria was. And so I was listening, and one day I went through my library, and I finally realized that Devil in a Blue Dress was Devil in Jersey City by Coheed and Cambria, mixed with Lady in a Blue Dress, I believe, by Census Fail. And so that was, kind of a shocking revelation to me, because at this point Coheed and Cambria had already become my favorite band, and to realize that I had been introduced to this music years before I actually knew who Coheed and Cambria was, and didn't really pick up on it, or wasn't able to seek out more music was really interesting for me. But I am going to see Neverender, Second Stage Turbine Blade in Detroit on April 29th. I'm so excited for that. I had the privilege of going to see two Coheed and Cambria shows this year on the Year of the Black Rainbow tour. And then when they came back through Grand Rapids to the Orbit Room with the Deer Hunter, and I got to see that show. Met some amazing people that I know from the street team, from Coheed and Cambria's street team. And, Coheed and Cambria, if their music isn't the most captivating music that I have ever heard, their live performances are truly amazing. And I'm privileged to be a fan of this band, and I'm privileged to be friends with so many other fans of this band, and I really look forward to being able to see them again at the end of the month. So yeah, that's my experience with Coheed and Cambria. That is my experience with the album Second Stage Turbine Blade. And if you haven't listened to Coheed and Cambria, you should really listen to them, because they're a potentially life-changing rock band if you'll give them a chance. You should. So, enjoy.